So, yes, it is true, kind of. Putting on a piece of clothing definitely threw me into some cultural existential crisis, and I'll explain exactly what I mean in a second here. But howdy, y'all. I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you guys are safe, and I hope you guys are healthy. My name is Josh, and I absolutely love clothing and personal style. So if you're into that type of content, feel free to subscribe to me on here, as well as follow me on Instagram at where's_Galdo. I'm running out of breath. So earlier this summer, I went to a wedding in Orange County. Orange County is beautiful. Met up with some friends. It was a great time. And for the actual wedding ceremony, I went with my family, and we all put on more traditional, like Filipino formal wear, and that is going to be simply a barong. I'm very bad at pronouncing Filipino words, so I'm very sorry if I pronounce things weird in this video. But a barong Tagalog is basically a sheer shirt, oftentimes made of natural fibers, sometimes pineapple, and it has this really nice ornate thing. It's a very delicate piece of clothing, and it is something that in my mind, as like going to weddings and stuff and other events in barongs before, I'm like I don't feel as comfortable in them. I mean, most formal wear doesn't feel all that comfortable, but it was weird to me because of my background. Despite feeling a lot of conflict internally, it felt really good to wear this piece of clothing and to like in essence kind of like represent my own culture in a way that was really really nice. As a lot of people can very obviously tell by looking at me, I am a Filipino American, but just for specifics on my background in particular, I was born in New York City and grew up in Las Vegas. So I was surrounded by a good number of a lot of like family members and friends that were of the same culture. However, I grew up very much in like just completely immersed in American culture. There were like little things that I definitely picked up from my family. Like my parents taught me to pray in Bisayan, the dialect that my parents speak from the south of the Philippines. And I've been to the Philippines multiple times, but there were very few moments in my life where I really felt connected to like that cultural aspect of my life. And I do think it's rather unfortunate, but that's just my reality. There wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for me to immerse myself in more like traditional cultural experiences with Filipino stuff. And I also don't speak the main language of the Philippines. Vast majority of people in the Philippines speak Tagalog, and I don't understand a word of it. Growing up, I mean, in hindsight, definitely had like a couple of issues, I could say. They didn't manifest as actual like problems for myself, but there was definitely a lot of like identity crises that occurred around me, per like obviously looking pretty like stereotypical Filipino, while at the same time just being entirely American. And honestly, whenever I do go to the Philippines, it feels like I stand out a lot because I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand what people are saying to me most of the time, and it's a weird identity crisis that I feel like other people can relate to if they're second gen immigrants. So as I was like trying on like before this whole like wedding stuff, as I was trying on my dad's barongs because he just has them on ice apparently, I like put them on and I was like, this feels odd because I feel like I'm putting on a culture that I don't know very well. Although by like familial relation, this is where my family stems from. So it was a very conflicting feeling for me. And my parents were like, okay, cool. So typically, like if you're wearing a barong, if it's like the short sleeve one or the long sleeve one, you wear a shirt underneath because it is so sheer that you can literally see nip. But I was like, all right, cool. And they're like, typically it's a white like shirt, a white short sleeve shirt underneath the barong. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, whatever. And I apparently got rid of all my blank white shirts, which is weird. But I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and throw on like what I just had with me, and that is like a black long sleeve shirt. And thankfully, it didn't look off. It didn't look wrong. I don't know if I wore it wrong. I mean, you guys can tell me that in the comments down below. But I wore a black long sleeve shirt underneath, which I felt like gave it a really cool effect of like it's not as pure white as it comes off because like a barong is like very naturally colored. It's like this kind of cream, and then the black underneath I thought looked really good, and I was like, okay, whenever I go to these formal events, especially if it's like just my family, I'm like, oh, I need to wear like slacks and like shoes that like I don't really care about. But I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna go to this wedding, it's not my event for one, and for two, a barong is like a formal, like it presents formal in itself. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the rest of what I am wearing, try to make it as appropriate as possible, but still wear it in a way that I feel comfortable and wear it in a way that I want to wear it. So I did wear a pair of just seersucker black pants that are very wide, cropped and wide, and then I wore some Guidi 310s. And I was like, I'm not gonna lie, this whole getup, details included with the barong and the formal wear, this in my eyes, I was like, this looks really cool to me. There may have been like moments where like I felt like a little bit of like imposter syndrome. Like I obviously am wearing like traditional, more traditional Filipino like garments. I look Filipino, yet on the inside, I'm an extremely Americanized person. And I remember even growing up around the other people that I chose to associate myself with, almost resenting the fact that I didn't look like the typical American child. And I hate to think that in my past I thought that, but it is true. It is something that, like, I guess, or well, I'm wondering if you are also a child of immigrants, is that a feeling that you feel? Or if you are someone who is like completely, you're like, American through and through, is this something that you guys even take into consideration when it comes to other people from other cultures? It is something that I have talked about with my girlfriend and my brother, and it's like, it's so specific of an issue that I just felt like chatting about it. And I found as an adult, and I hate to say that I found it so late, but I found this appreciation for my background culture way too late, in my personal opinion. But just simply putting on a barong and styling it in a way that I wanted to style it made me feel good. All that to say, I highly encourage, I mean, maybe it's like, depending on where you're watching this from, if you are someone who has cultural ties to your family background, I would look into that. I would definitely look into where it is that your specific story and family and culture comes from, and maybe looking at the design influence of what came from that culture, because I am really interested now. I'm very, very, very fascinated to draw upon myself to just learn more about my culture. And when it comes to dressing myself and presenting myself in ways, yeah, sure, sometimes I wear clothing that are of different cultures. Particularly, I wear a lot of Japanese inspired clothing. All I would want to say is that definitely tread carefully, understand the cultural significance of whatever it is you decide to wear. And if you decide to wear something that has cultural significance, like on the off chance I decide to wear a barong casually, understand how that looks to other people and the fact that it may make other people uncomfortable. So tread very lightly if you are going to take inspiration from other cultures, and you definitely want to make sure that it is out of a place of cultural appreciation as opposed to cultural appropriation. It's a fine line, and one that can get some people into trouble, to be quite honest with you. But I just wanted to share this personal story, and I thought it was actually so funny that just throwing on a garment kind of triggered these existential thoughts in my head. But I'm very curious as to what you guys think. Have you guys had this issue before where you're thinking in terms of like, cultural clashes within yourself or where you grew up as opposed to where, your culture originates from? Do you think that it is a problem when people wear cultural garments and they are not of that culture? I am very curious to see what you guys say about this one, because I think that it is the stem of a lot of people finding things distasteful. So let me know what you think in the comments down below or DM it to me. I appreciate your guys' time, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.